Okay, so where do I start? Basically, everything went wrong. So let's start with buying the house. I came here in January 2023 to look at this house, and I didn't go through the regular bidding process that you go through here in Sweden to buy the house. I actually found this house on a German platform called eBay Kleinanzeigen, and it was posted by somebody that is basically a self-proclaimed real estate agent. And with me not having any experience with buying a house in Sweden, let's just say things didn't go according to protocol. First of all, things weren't really discussed truthfully, and let's start with the roof actually. So I was told the roof is in good condition. I couldn't inspect it properly because there was snow here in January, obviously, and the damage was so severe that I had to replace the entire roof. But it wasn't only that, there were a couple other things. For instance, the entire basement was painted, and I specifically asked about mold, and I was told there was no mold, but turned out later, after talking to the neighbors, after I got to know them, turned out there was black mold in there. It was fixed properly, it didn't come back yet, so I don't know why this was not discussed earlier. And I don't want to ramble about this for too much, because I think I would have bought the house regardless. Maybe try to negotiate a little more. So that meant the entire budget that I had planned to renovate the entire house went only into the roof. So the budget that I had set for myself was roughly 30,000 euros. And I thought that would involve like basic renovation, like, you know, putting on new wallpapers. Everything basically looked kind of okay when I looked at the house. Of course, a new bathroom was planned, so I would have stretched the budget a little bit maybe, but that was kind of the idea that I had in mind. Well, and what started as a normal renovation turned out in completely overhauling basically the entire house. To my knowledge, the house was sitting empty for roughly 3 years, but I'm not entirely sure about that. So mice and whatnot found their way into the home and made themselves comfortable. So one of the first things we did was rip out the entire floor in the second floor. And to no surprise, we have found a bunch of nests, and the smell was pretty bad. Another big mistake I made was rip out everything at once. I think actually one of the viewers pointed that out in a comment. Yeah, that meant I couldn't use any of the rooms effectively anymore. So I was basically living on a construction zone. But overall, basically the costs have quadrupled at this point. And what were the options? I could sell the house and get back to Germany, or stay and commit. So that's what I did. Okay, so why did I stop posting videos? First of all, I want to thank you for all the comments, because that inspired me to continue on this channel. But after a while, I just realized that this is mentally too challenging for me, and you will know why in a second, because it actually got much worse. So after being here for a couple of weeks, a friend of mine from Germany came over to help me. He was actually also here when we looked at the house in January. And then while we were working together and we lived together, also without a kitchen because we ripped it out, it was just too much for me to continue making these videos. Looking back, I should have kept the kitchen in place and do one room at a time, maybe. But then again, we planned it to be a rather quick renovation, you know, rip out the old kitchen, put in the new one, and go back to the regular daily life fairly soon. And that is basically why I stopped making these videos. I wish I had continued, but overall it was just mentally too challenging for me. And then again, thank you so much for your support. We have hit, I think, 1,400 subscribers on the channel, which is crazy for just 2 videos. So thank you for tuning in, and let's continue. So I had the roof replaced, much more work on my hands than I had thought. And then right before winter, the heating broke down. So I spent the entire winter here with no heating at all. And also no heating means no water. And the winter here last year was quite rough actually. In fact, it got to minus 34 degrees up here. So I ended up buying a lot of electric heaters, which wasn't really good for the electrical bill, but that was basically the only thing that I could do. And yes, I do have an oven, but it is not the most efficient one. The way it is designed, it has to burn open, so you have to burn the fire inside, then open it up, then all the heat escapes, and then you have to close it again for a while, and so on. So that didn't really work. It was okay with the electrical heaters in the bedroom, that worked, but I couldn't really keep all the rooms in the house warm. So I had 2 of the radiators in the house break, which wasn't a big deal because I planned to replace them anyways. I wasn't sure for a long time if the other pipes in the entire house have survived. Luckily they did. So at this point, my friend from Germany was back at home and I was working here by myself. Honestly, if it wasn't for my lovely neighbors, I would have probably went back to Germany, at least for a little while, because if you don't have water, if you don't have heating under these conditions, it is quite challenging. And as I said, no water means you cannot use the toilet, you cannot take a shower. And that was really difficult. So my neighbors, they live like 100 meters down here in a cabin. They don't live here, but it's their holiday cabin, so they let me use their bathroom. Also, with no water you cannot cook. Oh, and by the way, in winter, turned out I couldn't even get up here with my bus that you've seen in the previous 2 videos. So I had to buy another car with 4-wheel drive, which is another huge expense that wasn't planned for. The heating eventually got replaced, but that happened in spring. Then I didn't really need it anymore. Well, at least now it's gonna be warm and I will be prepared for this winter. So all in all, it is safe to say that it didn't go according to plan. I've planned a complete renovation update for this channel, so if you're new here and if you're interested in that, make sure to subscribe. Other than that, I just wanted to give you some insights, tell you what happened and why I disappeared for a year. Thank you very much for your patience with me, because I know it's been a long week, and I hope to see you soon.